Are you ready to connect with nature in a whole new way? Welcome to The Green Scene, your guide to a greener, healthier world. Join Green Corridors Andiswet Dlamini, Duncan Pritchard and Charlene Versveld to explore the wonders of nature and find out how we can live more sustainably and take small actions at home and work to make a big impact.
Hi everybody, welcome back to The Green Scene. Today we'll be talking about community and ecotourism and how it benefits the local economy. Here we're chatting with Amimi Mlaba, who runs a very successful tourism venture in the heart of the Rural Valley of 1,000 Hills, 15 minutes away from Hillcrest, the owner and manager of iSithumba Travels. Hello to Amimi, Duncan and Charlene.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy to be on the show.
Hello.
How's it, guys?
Amimi, you first started working with Green Corridors officially as iSithumba Travels in 2021. Take me back on that.
We started back in 2010 as iSithumba Community Development Movement. However, yes, as a travel company in 2021. And Green Corridor is a significant partner to our work because back in iSithumba, what we deal with is what we call the Zulu Village Experience, a tour that we give to people. We take people on hikes, which takes us to the nature. And so, of course, working with an organization like Green Corridor helps us a great deal in understanding the importance of making sure that we keep the nature clean in more ways than one.
Quickly, what is ecotourism, Duncan?
So ecotourism is quite distinct from nature-based tourism. It's one of these terms that gets thrown around willy-nilly, but it's actually quite specific. It's defined as tourism which gives a benefit to the environment and to people who live in that environment. We're going to be talking a little bit today with Amimi about community-based tourism. And community-based tourism is kind of an offshoot from ecotourism. If you look around the world, tourism is one of the fastest-growing industries on the planet. Ecotourism is the fastest-growing niche of that. But around protected areas and natural areas, you've still got people living in poverty. And that's because of what they call leakage. If somebody books a trip in Germany, there's a travel agent, there's 1,000 people in that value chain. The amount of money that actually ends up on the ground is actually quite small. So the idea of community-based ecotourism is to empower local communities, people who actually live in these spaces, to be able to directly engage with the market and benefit directly from tourism. And that then creates a really nice incentive for job creation, protecting the environment. It's a very nuanced term. We throw ecotourism around willy-nilly, but ecotourism and nature-based tourism are two distinctly different things.
Mimi, quickly, just in 2 lines, what do you guys offer as iSithumba Travels when I get down to iSithumba?
So basically, our number one selling tour is the Zulu Village Experience. We have the hikes up iSithumba. We have 2 options on that. One is 4.7 kilometer and the other one is 10 kilometer. And also we take people canoeing on the Umgeni River. And also we do camps with different groups, as you may already know.
Lovely. So now how does this link with Amimi and iSithumba, Green Corridors? How do these link together?
So a lot of what we do at Green Corridors, and I think Amimi can talk more about the benefits to the community, but for Green Corridors, for us, it's about adding value to these open spaces and creating opportunities for people to actually benefit from the environment, benefit from their own community and create opportunities. I've found often young people just want to get out of these communities and get to the city because there's no opportunity. So it's about creating opportunities that people can actually thrive where they're born, where they live.
Yeah, I understand that. Now let's talk about the community. Amimi, community being the heart of all of this down in the valley, how do they directly benefit from what you do as a tour operator in KwaZulu-Natal?
There are many ways to which our community benefit. One, you'll know that the education levels in South Africa is not the same. So in this sense, when we bring people from outside, they be in a space wherein our kids can actually interact with them. They, for an example, learn to speak English. Our community is a community where we don't have as much people, say, for an example, studying to a point where they get to a master's degree. So when they are in that space, talking to our children get to broaden their horizons to understand that there is more than just iSithumba. So people benefit in that. When we have travelers coming to iSithumba, we call for bead makers in the community to come and sell their beads to the tourists. But also you get Zulu dancers. We also get different groups to come perform and they get paid as a result. We also have people coming to work at the center to maintain the site and also help when we take in people on the hikes and also help in terms of cleaning the kitchen, the rooms that we have and stuff like that. So the community benefits in many ways.
Can I interject here? Because I've been down to your beautiful site. I mean, it's just exquisite where it is. But what I really get is this, it's not a canned experience. It's the genuine thing. So it's not like put on for tourists. It's what people actually do in that village. The Sangoma, the sub-chief, the visits to his homestead. These are all actual people that live and work and thrive in that area. So I love that about it, that it wasn't staged. It was just absolutely authentic.
It also takes us back to the fact that Amimi was once in a backpacker zone. Could you maybe just give us a bit of background on that as well? Because it also has contributed to the experience that you have had in the tourism and to the success that you've had in iSithumba. And it's very much relevant when you go to a site that everybody's free in movement.
So I believe that people are a product of their surrounding. Growing up in a small village like that, now me moving into the backpacking space definitely opened my eyes in many ways. When I moved to the backpacking space, I did not know much about tourism, so to speak. I was just looking for a job. And when I got exposed to a lot of things like traveling around South Africa on a bus, meeting up with different tour operators in different regions of South Africa, like the Wild Coast, going to the Drakensberg, going to Soweto and all those kinds of places, then my horizon broadened. I got to understand more what tourists be looking for. Thereby, I learned how to actually execute the tourism activities that we are doing in iSithumba. So it is for this reason, going back to Charlene's question, that we conduct tourism the way we do. What we do is we want to take travelers for real, like into a space where the Sangoma operates. We don't want to bring the Sangoma into the site and have the Sangoma performing for the tourists, but we want to take the tourist into the community and see where the Sangoma lives and how they work and all that kind of stuff. So in that way, we get the Sangomas involved and they benefit as a result. But also, if there is anything happening in the community, like a ceremony, we want to take the people there so that they see it firsthand. That, okay, when Zulus are happy and having a ceremony, there be a reason, and they do Zulu dancing, they drink Zulu beer, this is the role of the children, this is the role of the adults and stuff like that. They need to understand that. But we go beyond that. What I usually say, I usually explain that the history of this province is very significant to one's understanding of what's happening now. KwaZulu-Natal is, for an example, governed in two systems. We have the chief, for an example, running the affairs of our area, and then you have also the ward councillor. What the chief does, he's responsible of who can build what where, and whereas the councillor is just responsible for development. There are some things that are happening in the villages that needs to be clarified for the tourists' understanding. What I usually say is that our villages, as a result, we are somewhat just below the first industrial revolution, and to some extent, when we explain these things to the tourists, they feel like, but that's discrimination. But these are just dynamics of a society at that particular level of development. And I think it's very important to clarify that so that when you give the information, it's genuine and they understand it for what it is.
Nice. Charlene, tell me, maybe as a non-traveler as I am, what's the best place to visit?
For me, it's about the authentic experiences. And that's why iSithumba is just so attractive. And also some of these other sites where, you know, the people that are working in those communities are benefiting directly. So some of you spoke about a ceremony. My husband and I found ourselves proud to getting married in a place in India, and we just happened upon a kind of wedding ceremony or something. And the community pulled us in, and we spent an entire night with complete strangers dancing around with sticks and doing some stuff I'd never experienced. And we remember those. And I think those kinds of, and all those, sitting with a Bedouin in a tent on the top of Mount Sinai, these are experiences that feel very authentic and have the lasting memories. And of course, you can see the Eiffel Tower and the pyramids and stuff, but the actual memory and the emotional side of having that kind of experience that Amimi does offer people down in the valley is something like that.
Nice. So, Amimi, obviously you guys don't conduct weddings in iSithumba where you become the officiator. Yeah. Back to you, Amimi. Now, let's look at your volunteer program. Being an ex-volunteer yourself in the past as well, with those vast experiences. Tell me just briefly about the volunteer program that is conducted in iSithumba.
Okay, so when we realized that having volunteers can also serve as an opportunity for us to run tourism activities, we termed this voluntourism. So we work using different platforms. One is the workaway.info, getting volunteers really from all over the world coming to iSithumba. And then we have partnerships between the city of Durban and other cities around the world. Cities such as Bremen, cities such as Leeds Metropolitan University and more, that brings in different cultures really into our village. So volunteers be there to actually share their skills. They are there to actually learn about the life that people live in the village. And so for the past, I think, 15 years through our mother organization, iSithumba Community Development Movement, we've been hosting volunteers from all over the world. And I think that experience has been nothing but great, both for the volunteers and for the kids in the village. We've seen people from our village going to countries like Germany and experiencing something like myself. I can now speak German as a result. We've had 2 people also going to Germany and staying over there, coming back, having learned different cultures. Why is it so important for the volunteers to stay, for an example, with the families? If they cannot really understand the life we live, they will not understand our way of thinking. So if we don't have water in the village, for an example, they have to understand that there's just no water for everybody. So if we are thinking of a solution towards actually getting water, we must think together. If, say, for an example, there is not enough food in that particular family, they must feel that so that they understand that, this is what these people actually go through. In that way, with their creative ideas from their developed world, they can then contribute with a clearer understanding than just coming in there and not really understanding what's going on.
And there's also a really nice economic opportunity around volunteers, because these volunteers, they come for 2-3 months. They stay with a local family in a homestay. So they're actually paying, a small amount of money to a family to live with them. They're contributing towards the food and the household. So it's actually, as volunteers, but it's commercial tourism as well. They're paying to stay in a homestay. They're paying for their meals for an extended period of time. So beyond that, the value of that cultural exchange, it's a significant economic opportunity for the families hosting them as well.
Duncan, do you feel that this type of tourism benefits towards our environmental awareness that is happening in the communities in the moment?
Absolutely. I think if you take iSithumba as an example, when Amimi was talking about iSithumba Mountain where they do hiking, so there's teams in there constantly keeping those trails clean, clearing out the alien plants, clearing out the alien weeds. Amimi's undersold himself in terms of all the things they do in that community around managing litter and plastic and keeping it looking like a good place where tourists want to go. But, there's this important little nuance is that we constantly separate people and the environment. And preserving people and culture is as important as preserving the environment. We are part of the environment. We are part of the ecosystem. You cannot separate the two and have 2 separate conversations about them. And I firmly believe that's the root of all our environmental problems. Of course, we've got people here and environment there, and
Never
we're
the
not.
twain
We are
shall
part.
meet,
Yeah, we are Homo sapiens. We are animals. We are part of the environment. We are as important as any other species. We impact the environment in a big way, but there's no circumstance where you can take conserving trees and plants and but for that we won't conserve culture. They're so intricately entwined. So I certainly think there's huge benefits for the environment. And often when you go down into the roots of a cultural experience, an authentic cultural experience like this, it's actually entrenched in very, very strong environmental ethics, which we often overlook. But there's a strong environmental ethic underpinning so many of these cultural traditions.
I totally agree with what Duncan is saying on the basis that, say, for an example, when we explain to the tourists on how the Sangomas heal people, first of all, they use the traditional herbs. And in our communities, all the trees you see there, they are from there. We are not greening iSithumba. So growing up as a kid in the village, you get to know about different trees, where they grow and stuff like that. So the environment in our tourism is very important, because we get to explain about the different vegetations that's there. And in order for that to be there, you ought to keep the environment clean. Take, for an example, we don't have a litter collection system in our area. So what do people do? They throw garbage in the ravines, and the certain vegetation that's supposed to be growing in the ravines, they do not grow there anymore, to a point where kids who are growing up there, if that particular tree was healing, say, for an example, when kid has stomach problems, it's no longer there. So it is very important for us to preserve the nature, to make sure that we understand the role of the people in not actually destroying the environment, so that our tourism can actually happen. But to expand on this, you get people who are really interested in the environmental related questions, and they ask you questions about, so why is this space so dirty? And you start to think about your own community, like, seriously, why is this space so dirty? So you kind of like have to embark on activities that will actually ensure that the environment becomes clean. And I think Duncan is 100% right. And we, as people who are doing tourism, we have to start thinking of it as something that we should take as our number one priority, to make sure that the environment is clean, to make sure that we make people aware that they should also play a role in making the environment clean, and so on and so forth.
And that is a project that you are doing. You are putting a program in place for litter collection and all of that kind of stuff?
Upon realization that this was becoming a problem, this is the question that we're getting from our travelers, and understanding that we're working with an organization like Green Corridor, its priority being making sure that the environment is green. So we thought that it was necessary for us to embark on a litter eradication program. And we are lucky that we'll be working with 30 students that we're actually learning through a learnership program with AGB. They will be working with us. We'll build 10 litter stations in the area. We've got some support from a French family, and of course Green Corridor will definitely be supporting us in that as well. So what we want to do is we want to build a litter station with 3 bins, 1 bin for plastic, 1 for bottles, 1 for paper, and so that people can actually learn how to separate litter. We'll make about 10 of those in the village. After 5 litter stations, we'll make 1 main litter station wherein these will be offloaded. And I think this will be an ongoing project that can also create job opportunities in the area. And basically what we want is that people start to see as something that they can profit from. So we want to bring in a lot of people from different kind of like aspects, like people who can teach people how do you then recycle garbage, how do you then sell bottles, how do you then make use of litter, so that when people see garbage, they think money. They see a bottle, they think of picking it up and where can I sell it? This is something that actually works in other countries, by the way, wherein when you go to a supermarket, there's that big machine wherein you can either put bottles, you can put plastic bottles, and so it can happen in this country if just managed. And I think Green Corridor is very capable of doing that.
Wow. On that subject, how can we get involved? How can a person either coming from overseas wanting to do international volunteer exchange, or a local person, Durbanite, who wants to say, listen, what I'm seeing in KwaZulu-Natal, I want to be part of it. I want to be part of the litter stations. How can we get involved?
We've been working with organizations from abroad, but we also have worked with universities such as the Durban University of Technology in Pietermaritzburg, to be precise, where they send volunteers to come work with us, and then we'll create a work plan that this is what we need them to do. So before they can actually start working with us, we have to be clear, is this what you are ready to sign up for? And then they can actually sign up for that. Everyone is welcome for as long as they are ready to sign up for such heavy work. There's a tendency in South Africa, though. Our people do not want to get dirty. If I was to say now, let's go clean up ravines, let's go pick up diapers that have been thrown by people, our people don't want to do that kind of work. And so it takes time to convince them. And I think we need to speak about it some more, that keeping your environment clean is a good thing to do. I was telling Susan a story, actually driving here, that we were once in a campaign of cleaning in the whole area of KwaZulu-Natal. And after that, we went to a Shisanyama place. This one friend of ours, upon finishing eating their fried chips, they threw the paper off the window. I'm like, we just came back from there. What are you doing now? So we need to make people understand that every day when they wake up, they must just think of making sure that they're keeping the environment clean.
No, that's just pure bad manners. I also don't understand this. How do I eat and then just leave it on the floor? Amimi, it's been great catching up with you, and I've learned a lot through Amimi and tourism. I would not be in tourism today if it wasn't for Amimi. I remember being in iSithumba, the valley, and I was amazed. I felt like I was in this amazing country, because that's how iSithumba feels. It feels like it's a country away from another country, but the warmth and the homeliness, and when you even visit the homestay of the Mlaba family, I go all over the house. There's no restriction. The same as the site. I mean, the work that has been done, how the kids actually grow up, and now the same kids, which when I arrived with children in ICDM, are tour guides. You know, that's how it happened with him. He was mentored by his aunt to be a tour guide. But it's been great. Always a pleasure from hearing from you. Thanks, Charlene, Duncan,
Cool.
Amimi.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And make a mission, go and, it's literally a 15-minute drive from Hillcrest, and you will feel like you're in a different world, and beautiful wild country down there. It really is.
And the
it's
safest community. The safest community.
It is.
And you always feel like people know you. I'm sure half the people don't know me, but when I arrive there, it feels like everyone knows me.
Okay, guys, we're going to go down to iSithumba. Let's wrap up, please.
Go down to iSithumba.
Thanks.
The Green Scene podcast is a partnership between East Coast Radio and Green Corridors. Find out more about Green Corridors via durbangreencorridor.co.za.